can, awesome. All right. We've got a couple of presentations this evening. The first one is from our Capital Projects and Community Service. We're happy to have Nancy Holmes, our Affordable Housing Council here, who's going to give our 2024 Affordable Housing Annual Status Report. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. The Affordable Housing Committee met last night and held its annual update meeting. This is held in accordance with the city's court-approved settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center, which requires that an annual meeting be held with notice to Fair Share Housing Center and local clergy, where the city can report on its affordable housing efforts from the past year and provide time for public comment and questions. We had a great meeting last night. I believe there were about 40 people that attended by Zoom, full of great questions from the public, and I'm actually adding some information based on those questions tonight into this report. There will be a revised report published hopefully within the next week, as long as I make sure that everything's reflected that was asked last night, and some changes that we knew we had to make before the meeting. So I'm not going to read the entire report to you because that would be tedious. This is already such exciting subject matter to begin with. So I'm going to add a few things. Under the first quarter, the Common Council adopted a resolution of need supporting the Summit Housing Authority's efforts to apply for HMFA state funding for large-scale renovations to the Summit Housing Authority buildings and units. Ultimately, they did not pursue that funding, but that did occur in the first quarter of last year. The Municipal Housing Liaison, Matt Delory, met with the Summit Civic Foundation to request that their 24 privately owned affordable units that they keep affordable to households be deed restricted so that we can use them as credits toward the Mount Laurel program, but they declined that. In February of 2024, the council created the Mount Laurel Subcommittee. This is to work on the legal components of round 3 and round 4. It meets regularly and is meeting a lot very soon, since we have a deadline of June 30th to create our new affordable housing plan. Also in February 2024, we held the 2023 annual updated meeting that was properly noticed and in conformance with the court-approved settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center. And then we also provided the update at the council meeting, which is also required by that agreement. If anyone in the public is looking for any prior annual update reports, they're all online at cityofsummit.org/AH. And this one will be, a revised version of this report will be published there as well. The Summit Affordable Housing Corporation presented a 42-unit, 100% affordable housing project on the old firehouse site at a council meeting during the public comment period. That proposal was immediately forwarded to the Mount Laurel Subcommittee for review. And you'll see at the bottom of the first quarter where it says that there were meetings scheduled with special needs housing groups, Overlook Hospital, and other entities for possible affordable housing projects. If there is anyone in the public or on the council who knows of a church or another entity that has property or would like to further their mission of their church to create affordable units, please let us know. We're always looking for new opportunities. In the second quarter, the members of the Mount Laurel Subcommittee met with the Summit Affordable Housing Corporation about the 42-unit project. The subcommittee reviewed all of the plans and all of the options and presented recommendations to council. Council ultimately decided to pass on the project and create an overlay zone for the larger area. that included several other lots. That overlay has a minimum number of 7 affordable units that can be constructed on that site. It can obviously include more. There was also a mailing asking landlords if they would wish to deed restrict their units in exchange for a subsidy to create affordable units out of market rate units. So far, there's been no interest. Meetings in the second and third quarter were held with Our House, Summit Housing Authority, Rose House, which is a supportive and special needs provider, St. Teresa's, Pilgrim Baptist Church, and the United Methodist Church about possible affordable housing projects. All of those entities are in various stages of whether they're considering affordable housing projects. Pilgrim Baptist Church decided to go another route. In the third quarter, Stephanie Sulios was appointed as municipal housing liaison, and I wanted to give her a large amount of credit. She did a fantastic job inputting all of the city's unit data and trust fund data into the new affordable housing monitoring system. She and Mark Leckington did a fantastic job, and it was a huge effort. And they met the February 15th deadline that just passed, and everything is in now to the DCA, which is a huge task because Stephanie had to input every line item from the trust fund since the city started collecting funds. So that was a big deal. So she did a fantastic job, and I wanted to give her a lot of credit for that. In the third quarter, an offer was made to Our House to deed restrict one of their existing 4-bedroom group homes, which was accepted. And in the fourth quarter, the city executed an agreement with Our House, provided a subsidy, and the deed restriction was recorded. So it will remain, there will be 4 bedrooms deed restricted for 30 years for special needs individuals in the city of Summit. They are also actively looking, as part of that agreement, for another 4-bedroom group home within the city. So if anyone has any ideas, they're looking for property. They do have specific requirements, and they are looking for, Our House does own condominiums throughout the city, and there are several special needs individuals who are getting older and need more of a group home environment rather than living on their own. One of them, I think everyone knows, is Andy, and they would like to keep him in Summit, and so this is something that I think Summit citizens can get behind. The state really is very, very low on supportive and special needs units. It's really actually quite a crisis. So if everyone can work together, that would be great to see if Our House can build another group home in town. In the third quarter, the council also passed a resolution defining a clear process for developers when they're approaching the city with projects that include affordable units. The Mount Laurel Subcommittee has used this process several times to meet with developers over the past year. In the fourth quarter, the Habitat for Humanity project on 146 Morris Avenue began closing on units. They're still in the process of that. Housing Affordability Service is the state-run administrative agent, and they're the ones that process all of the applications, qualify the households, and execute the closings. So we're hoping that either this quarter or the next quarter that project is completely full. So that would be great to have all of those units filled. In October of 2024, the DCA released the round 4 numbers in accordance with the new statute that was adopted and signed into law in March of 2024. And the city's round 4 numbers are a 59-unit rehabilitation obligation and a new construction obligation of 345. And as I said before, the meeting was held last night, and it was a great turnout. I did want to note there were some questions about the trust fund balance on I believe it's page 3. That is just as of December 31st of 2024. It's not meant to be an accounting at all. It's just to show what the balance is, what the expenditures were in December. It's there basically to show the current balance in the trust fund. As I mentioned, Stephanie has input all of the trust fund data into the state system. And I did confirm with Mark Leckington, our administrative agent, that everything is in, the unit monitoring and the trust fund data is in. It's not clear when the public site will be available on the DCA's website to check that information, but that should be fairly soon, we hope. So when that's available, I will make it part of my affordable housing update that I do every month and bring it to everyone's attention. And I could ask the public just to check the website. We'll put that monitoring data up as soon as we can. I made a few new charts. That is the old one, but I think I sent 2 new ones. Did they give you those?
That's all I have.
No? Okay. No problem. So the chart that's in the report now needs to be updated. We actually had some projects fall out in the last few weeks and some new projects come to fruition. So I'm just going to review those really quickly. And this is related to the 50 new unit obligation. So you can kind of see it. Okay, so we have, and also I've added some information that members of the public had asked for last night, just to help them understand what type of units we have and what the status of those units are. So we have one unit at 412 Morris. It is a family unit, and it is constructed and occupied. 146 Morris is Habitat for Humanity, as I just spoke about. That is fully constructed, and they are filling the units as we speak. 123 to 127 Summit Avenue. There are 3 units there. They are family units, and they are constructed and occupied. Ashwood Court is part of the settlement with Habitat for Humanity. That agreement states that up to 2 units could be built there. They would be in accordance with our settlement agreement if that's how those units get built. They would be family units because we have an obligation of at least 25 of those units to be family units. That is still pending. It's not clear how many units can be built on that site. 557 to 565 Morris is an approved project of 7 family units. The Morrison Broad Overlay Zone has a minimum number of affordable units of 7. Those will be family units, and my understanding is that the bidding process will begin soon, in the next couple of months. Our house, as I discussed, is a group home that is constructed and occupied. It is now deed restricted for 30 years. That's 4 credits. The credits for group homes are based on the bedroom, so it's a 4-bedroom unit, so therefore it's 4 credits. Brandywine Assisted Living Facility is constructed and occupied. They fall under a requirement by the state that at least 10% of their beds be available to Medicaid recipients. So 10% of their facility gives us 10 senior units, which are constructed and occupied. I believe it was constructed in 2021. And within the last week, we had a final unit confirmation of 12 units for a 100% senior, affordable senior project with Bergen County United Way. That's still being finalized as far as legal things and a developer's agreement and those things. So hopefully we can add more information very quickly. So that gives us a total of 62 out of 50 units toward the 50 new units by July 1st of 2025. And I did want to explain, as I did at the meeting last night, everyone is focused on the 50 units, always, and that's okay. But I did point out last night that the city did have another obligation, which is called the realistic development potential. And that happens, you get your number from on high, and then you adjust it based on how much vacant land that you have. And Summit had a combined realistic development potential, which is, in my jargon, called an RDP, of 36 units. The city fully satisfied that with a 13-unit surplus. So not only has the city now facilitated the construction of 62 out of the 50 that were in our settlement agreement, but we also have 49 credits from our realistic development potential. And those are all constructed and occupied. So I know everyone was focused on the 50, but I wanted everyone to also acknowledge that Summit has created affordable units and a significant amount based on the lack of vacant land that it does have. So those were clarifications that we discussed last night. So I just wanted to bring that to the public's attention as well. So do you have any questions?
All right, great. Thank you so much, Nancy. I think at this time, I'm going to ask if anyone in the public would like to maybe ask a question of Nancy while she's here, and then we'll open it up for council questions. Anyone from the public?
Is it just questions or is it comment as well?
Comments?
She can answer. Yeah. Oh, you can make a comment too if you'd like. Sure.
Okay,
If
thank you.
you're commenting, keep it to 3 minutes.
I
Good.
sure will.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name's Ellen Boylan. I live at 137 Tulip Street, and I'm a member of At Home in Summit. I first want to just start by recognizing and acknowledging that this council and mayor inherited this problem of getting over the finish line for 4 months from now. And I appreciate what you've been doing to try to get us over the finish line. And even though you didn't create the problem, I do think you have a responsibility to fix it and do what you can. I feel like I'm at a great disadvantage, and I said this last night at the meeting, because we don't really have a report that has concrete data. And hearing Ms. Holm to say today what they've done, haven't done, what's family, what's not family, it's not helpful. I need to see numbers in front of me, otherwise I can't really analyze it. I've looked at the data that is available, and I have 2 concerns about where we are right. Well, I have 3 concerns actually, but one is 50% of the units under round 3 are supposed to be family units, so that's 25 family units, and I have counted 14 for sure, and possibly 4 more at 557, 565 Morris Avenue, which is short of the 25. And also 13% of the 50 are supposed to be very low income units. That's 7 units. And I've only counted 1 that's done and 1 that's in the pipeline. So that's deficient by 5 units at least. So that's, part of the problem is we don't have concrete data, things to look at and analyze. And the other part is, from what I've put together, there are deficits. And I also have to note that the recent efforts that you've been putting into getting us over the finish line have involved units for single individuals. The project that's proposed by United Way that's listed here, the Our House group homes, we desperately need special needs housing and housing for seniors, but we really need housing for families too, and I don't know how we're going to get there if we're just going to do piecemeal little developments. And I just want to also bring to your attention the main concern that I have right now is with round 4. The city's working on the plan right now. I'm sure the consultants, planners are working on the fair share plan and housing element. That's got to be done in 4.5 months. And part of that, as you know, is the city's been given the number of 345. I'm sure that number is going to be reduced, and part of that is a vacant land analysis. And I feel it's really not serious if the city's selling the property at Broad Street West while this process is in place. You're going to come to a conclusion there's no vacant land when there is land that's buildable. And if you're serious about affordable housing, I urge you to hold on to that land, at least part of it, to build housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Just to clarify, 35 of the 50 units are family units in that.
Please, come on.
Dennis White, 137 Tulip, thank you. I mean, you know, I spend a lot of time looking at these affordable housing issues, I think you all know. And, you know, tonight we got a report that is totally inadequate, really doesn't let us look at it. This is a report that was distributed by the city clerk on Friday, and then last night we saw a completely different report, and now tonight we're seeing another report. So it's kind of frustrating to come before the group here and try to make some, you know, analysis of what's going on. And I think if you can turn to the trust fund numbers, I mean, this is a trust fund, right? And the city has an obligation to report on the money that comes in and the money that goes out and how that was deployed. And yet we just get this very inadequate balance for the year. And, you know, the city had a year to do this. So, I mean, if you could turn to that page with the trust fund balance, I mean, that's not an accounting of a trust fund for an annual report. So, you know, I would just urge the council to try to do a better job in preparing this information. Again, we don't know the composition of the units that are coming up. You know, the best we can do is look at them and think, you know, how much are affordable, how much are low income, how much are family, but the information is not being provided. So I think, you know, this council has talked about transparency, and we're not getting that. And I just would urge you to provide the information. And just one last comment, and I think you heard, is that as we go into round 4, the firehouse site is the one remaining site where the city can really make a real impact on affordable housing. And yet, I think the mayor last night and Ms. Holm just said they're kind of running to get rid of that property. You know, want to get rid of it before the June 30th deadline. And I think if this group was really committed, they would hold that and put it into the round 4 discussion to develop affordable housing in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Comments? All right. Okay, we'll move on then to comments from council. Any comments from council or questions for Nancy? Councilwoman Hamlet.
Well, I would just say thank you all for your comments. I think this is a meaningful day for us because we have spent a lot of time and energy in just trying to facilitate getting to 50. And obviously, we've made progress towards that, but I don't think it ends there. I think, to everybody's point, we have to continue to work together in this progress, and it's really important for all of us to get family units as well. We have another call, I think, tomorrow with Our House. I'm your planning board liaison, so I know Steve Spur is very much aligned with our vision, especially of providing public input in the Fair Share Housing Element Plan and making sure that the desires of the community, such as family units, is heard, and you're a part of that. So thank you for coming, and thank you for caring. Appreciate it. And we'll get you those trust fund numbers, I promise. And I think Mark Leckington, I think he actually did them, Rosie. We'll have to check.
It's all finished.
Yeah, it's all finished. We'll get it this week.
Like I said, it's a new system, and I asked him today to figure out how to print out for 2024 the trust fund data. He's trying to work on it. It's a brand-new system that DCA had about a couple months to figure out. They're still working out the bugs. There's a lot of, actually, municipalities that still can't even log into the system. So it's been quite a process, but hopefully soon, based on what Mark said, that hopefully in the next month or so that there'll be a public interface that on the DCA's website, so that information is readily available to everyone.
Thank you. Other comments from council members? Yes, Councilman Smallwood, please.
Thank you, Council President. Obviously, this is an extremely complicated issue, and for a lot of people to really digest everything that is required, what is talked about in our agreement with Fair Share Housing, including myself, right? So it's extremely difficult to completely understand. So for round 3, how many affordable units did we provide? Require?
Okay, so for round 3, we had the realistic development potential, which is when you take all the vacant land in the city and decide what is suitable for inclusionary development at a presumptive density, and then you come up with this number. So you presume a 20% set aside. So I will try very hard not to put everyone to sleep. So you take all of the land, and let's say there is 10 acres, and your minimum density is 10 units an acre, right? So then you calculate it's that many units, and then you take 20% of that, and that's how you get your RDP. So our number is 36. We had 40 actual units, 4 of which were group home, 8 of which were seniors, and the remainder are all family units. And then there's a rental bonus that you're allowed on any to incentivize the construction of family rental units, which we satisfied, which you have a maximum number of 9. So we had a total of 49 credits toward our 36. So we had a 13-unit surplus. So that gets applied to the overall number. Once your number is adjusted down, there's this thing called the unmet need. And the unmet need is your number minus your RDP. So that you try to find areas that will develop and redevelop so that you can capture affordable housing. We have a mandatory set-aside ordinance to capture that. We have overlay zones. We also have developers come in who want to propose projects different places. So we also have what's called a regional contribution agreement with the city of Elizabeth, where we paid for the construction of 26 affordable units. That is no longer a mechanism that's allowed. They removed that the legislature removed that. So then after that so our unmet need, just to backtrack a little bit, is 702 for round 3. We have the 36 RDP, and then we have the unmet need of 702. With the RCA, the surplus, and the credits toward the 50 new unit goal, our unmet need balance is now 601. So we've brought it down 100 units.
So, but in round 3, we were required to, or it's the 50 number unit.
Right.
How many did we create?
So the requirement is to facilitate the construction of, and obviously we can't force a developer to to construct anything. So we, as of today, have facilitated the construction of 62 out of 50. That doesn't mean they're all constructed yet.
Right.
That means that they're in various stages of either we're getting a developer's agreement finalized for the senior project. There are some that are constructed and occupied, and then there's others that are still in process.
So a total of 61.
2.
62.
Yeah, 62 out of 50.
But only 16 have been created.
So
Honestly, sorry.
So
that is
So-
not true, but anyway.
according to Fair Share
Right.
Housing, they're recognizing 62.
We're still working with Fair Share Housing on getting them all the information. But
Okay.
they were on the meeting last night. They didn't comment or anything, but they were there, so.
Okay.
So they have all the information.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Other questions or comments from council? No, I'll just wrap up then. Nancy, I just want to thank you. I know you've been working really, really hard here, and it doesn't help when the state changes their reporting software in the year that they change the rules for round 4. But there you have it. So I know you've been under tremendous burden to get a lot of this stuff done, and I know you're working really, really hard, and I know you will continue to work very, very hard as we get to the end of June. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I think the feedback from the public was good. I also see that we do seem to have done over 50% of family units here based off these numbers. But I do think it would be great if we had a category for the very low income ones on here too, so
Absolutely.
that we could see that would be great. The only other thing I have is, you know, as you mentioned, we had an obligation to facilitate up to 50 units. So we have been obviously trying very, very hard to facilitate that. And it's happy to see that it looks like these units have been facilitated, which is great. Because I know, you know, Summit has a very long history of promoting affordable housing and continues to do so. Question I have though is, you know, some of this stuff, as we've just heard, is in the planning stages.
Yes.
And obviously plans change. So how does this work when plans change? Like say the Morris Broad overlay, we're putting the 7 in there as a minimum. I think all our hopes are, whoever does develop the site will have more than that. Does that mean that if, say, that number eventually comes out to 14 units, for instance, which I think would have been the number if the original bid or the original redevelopment plan, if it was a 70 or 80 unit apartment building that was originally thought to be on that space, would have provided, say we get something like that. Where does those extra units go? Do those go to round 4, or do they get still stuck in round 3 because does it follow the property, or does it follow how many units get created?
So the new statute requires that municipalities go back and look at their round 3 plan. And if, like you said, plans change, I have several municipalities where developers have walked away from projects. And so you have to go back and fill a gap in your plan first. And then you take your credits that you have and you apply them either to your round 4 plan or to holes in your round 3 plan. So it's a long, convoluted explanation, but the Mount Laurel Subcommittee is going to look at every single credit, you know, beat down the bushes to find some things that may have been overlooked, and take all of our credits and make sure that they get first applied to round 3 and then applied to round 4 once we do the vacant land analysis.
Okay,
So.
great. All right, thank you. That's all I have. All right, with that, Nancy, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.